Good evening, everybody. I'm Ann McDonough. I'm the Deputy Director here at the DC History Center, where our mission is to deepen understanding of our space past, to connect, empower, and inspire. We do that through our exhibits, through our programs, K-12 education, our library and collections, and you can find us online at dchistory.org. Since 2008, we've been really proud to partner with the all-volunteer Rainbow History Project, which collects, preserves, and provides access to the history and culture of the diverse LGBTQ communities here in Washington, D.C. and the surrounding metro area. The DC History Center serves as the archival partner for RHP. So we house the collections that RHP solicits, processes, describes, and preserves. For the past several years, the DC History Center and RHP have brought in another partner, the U.S. Naval Academy. Bring several midshipmen in from Annapolis, and they spend their days here in DC going on tours, learning about local DC history, meeting RHP board members and volunteers, and then also working on collections, inventorying, or processing project. And so they get their hands on the collections, but they also learn a lot about the context in which they were created. So researchers, and as anybody who's interested in local LGBTQ+ history, can access these collections through our Kibler Research Library just downstairs. But tonight, in this In the Works program, we are going to give you a bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes. We have my colleague, Autumn Calican, Senior Manager of Collections, behind the camera. And tonight, the interns are going to be our guides. So let's join them.
Hey, welcome into the archival collection storage space. I'm Hannah Sarver. I'm one of the midshipmen who is also interning here from the Naval Academy. Come on in. We'd love to talk to you about the Rainbow History Project through the DC Historical Center. Fellow interns, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Carrie, also another midshipman. And I'm Rashaya, also another midshipman. So we're really excited to be here and tell you a little bit about our internship experience, what we've learned, some of the materials that we've looked at, collections. We're going to be sharing specifically this one, which is the David Papers. It's a series in the Rainbow History Project collection. David Aiken was an activist and member of the Liberation Front. These documents, these boxes have a lot of different types of documents and materials. I think it's a really important resource for people to understand how the LGBT community fought for recognition, rights, and sort of cultural acceptance during that period of time, especially for us who've never been exposed to this sort of material before. It was very important. So it includes some of the articles that David Aiken wrote confronting the issues that LGBT community faced at the time, as well as things like manuscripts, court case briefings, magazines, ads, pamphlets, correspondences, and a lot of educational material. So throughout our work with the Rainbow History Project collection, one of the things that we were looking specifically for were images that might represent pride in whatever form that might take for an exhibit that the Rainbow History Project is making. So we're going to do an unboxing and share some of the things that we flagged and would like to share with you that we thought were interesting.
So the coolest part about archives, specifically this one, is how all the pieces of history within these boxes really bring everything that we've learned to life. Over the last month, we've read a lot about various DC topics, DC history, etc. And so all of the material within these folders really helped to bring the collection and everything we've learned to life. So I'm about to show you guys a collection quickly. So in this folder, I'm going to show some of the various documents pertaining to the civil service and the LGBT community. So here we have some newspaper clippings speaking about civil service and the LGBT community within the workspace. A lot of these are speaking about the bans within the LGBT community and how unwelcome they were in various workspaces due to their sexuality, which is obviously very inappropriate. You have some more newspaper clippings speaking about the various changes and rules for hiring various members of the LGBT community during the time. And then here we have a paper from the U.S. Civil Service Commission speaking about the suitability of individuals for federal employment. And on the back, we have a list of some of those things, and a lot of them pertain to the LGBT community and speak about how there's no place for them in the workplace. It shows a lot of discriminatory factors pertaining to the LGBT community. Another document I'd like to show is this document here, written and addressed to the Bureau of Personal Investigations in the United States Civil Service Commission. Within this document, we have some papers speaking about the LGBT community and how they do belong in the workplace, and speaking and figuring out ways to help combat the discrimination that they face in the workplace. One of the parts of this document that I really enjoyed was here, part 7, where it mentions gay is good. Within that section of this document, we have some paragraphs speaking about gay people within federal service and how they help to bring diversity to the workplace, as well as an open mind, new perspective, and how productive and effective they are in the workplace to help show that they do in fact belong, and that they do help to bring a new point of view, a new perspective, and some great change to workplace that is necessary for the success of a lot of workplaces and federal and civil service. So yeah, I really enjoyed looking at these papers, really learning more about our history. And like I mentioned before, it really helps to bring to life the various history that we learned while spending our time. That was really cool. Now we're gonna show you guys some more.
So another folder that we would like to pull is specific to the Gay Activist Alliance. So this one, for example, is sort of a pamphlet or a write-up that presents a lot of literature or references that you could look to. What we found interesting was that it was specifically stamped as Lambda Rising, which was a renowned LGBT bookstore in the local DC area, in the DuPont Circle area. And it was a platform for activism, but most importantly, it was a space where people in the community could gather and socialize and find literature and references that they could relate to or learn about. We were privileged enough to be able to join Vincent Slatt on a guided tour in DC in the DuPont Circle area and learn about specifically these historical landmarks or places and settings that were important and critical to the LGBT activism and movement during that period of time.
So an example of the pamphlets that this bibliography shares is this Gay Activist Alliance homosexuality pamphlet. Within this pamphlet, there are various questions that the DC community had about homosexuality. And this pamphlet does a really great job of taking those questions and answering them in a very professional and polite way for the community to learn more. One of the questions that I really enjoyed is question number 14, is homosexual love different from heterosexual love? And here we have a response. As you can see, there was a lot of curiosity and just questions about the LGBT community, and this pamphlet does a great job of answering those questions. Another is question 16, is there a reason to bar homosexuals from certain kinds of employment, and are homosexual security risk? And that goes hand in hand with the first piece of the collection that I showed you all, the documents speaking about the LGBT community within the workplace, federal and civil service. So again, this pamphlet takes those questions and answers them in a way that is very palatable to the DC community and helps people learn more about the community. I think this pamphlet is really great because it shows a lot of the questions that maybe for us may seem outlandish, and it helps to show how far we've come. At the same time, there are questions in here that are still asked today, and it shows how much work we still have to do and how important education is. So I really enjoy this pamphlet. I think it's a great piece of history that we have this year.
sort of just as an add-on to what she just showed you, the other folder that we're gonna pull is the lesbianism and feminism folder. And just like what she showed you, this was another pamphlet, but this one was specific to talking about what is a lesbian. And like Rashaya said, some of these questions may seem outlandish, like, for example, do lesbians molest little girls and seduce young women? The pamphlet addressed questions like these professionally and with grace and very matter-of-factly, and even referred a lot of resources that one could go and look up and read in order to educate themselves about the community and sort of promote more of an acceptance towards people who are in this community.
In addition to this pamphlet, we also have some various newspaper articles from the time. We have this one called It's Time, newspaper article from the National Gay Task Force. And this one is speaking about lesbian resource books that was published within this month. And in the pamphlet, or in the newspaper, we have some more articles about LGBT life within DC, and the various news going around during that time. We also have a magazine here called The Lesbian Tide, and this was a pretty exclusively lesbian magazine. A lot of the writers and authors within this magazine were lesbian writers, and they speak a lot about the various issues pertaining life as a lesbian, the various struggles, as well as uplifting each other within this magazine. One of the articles is Lesbian Mothers, and it speaks about the struggles as a lesbian mother and the various social issues that lesbian mothers may have faced during the time. All of these are very important because they show the community. These various magazines help provide community, a safe space for lesbians to be able to speak about various issues and topics that they have, as well as share through writing a lot of their experiences. And it was a safe place to really just relax and learn more about life as a lesbian within the DC area, and as well as connect with other lesbians in the DC area.
An example of what she was just talking about that I thought was neat is on the back of this magazine, there's a bar and restaurant guide that talks about specific places that you could go for, the LGBT community, tells you about what cuisines that each bar or restaurant has. And I just really liked that they were promoting and spreading this information where you could go and find a safe space. So the Rainbow History Project is one of the biggest and fastest growing collections here at the History Center. So Rashaya is actually going to walk you into the stacks and sort of give you a lay of the land into what the collection looks like and how that works.
So this is where we keep a majority or all of the Rainbow History Project collection. As you can see, there are a lot of boxes, and all of them are filled with documents and newspapers and magazines just like this one. As Jerry mentioned before, the Rainbow History Project collection is the DC History Center's largest, fastest growing collection, which is awesome, but it also makes sense why we need a lot of this storage space. All of these empty shelves are going to be used to house more of these boxes one day, as we do get new donations just about every month. And all of these donations are given to us through various Washingtonians who just have a lot of history that they'd like to share and donate. So we're very grateful for all of the donations, and I can't wait to fill up these shelves and hope to learn more about DC in the future. With that being said, we're gonna go show you some posters over here with Hannah.
Hey, welcome back to all the floors, all the flat floors back here. While we were interning here, we had a wonderful over 80 poster donation given to us by one very famous Vincent Slatt. And something that the interns did here is we took these 80 plus posters measured all of them, gave them object IDs, put them in these big oversized folders, and put these folders in 5 of these flat drawers, which were previously empty. So when we say that the Rainbow History Project is one of the fastest growing collections, we certainly aren't lying. And I'd really love to show you some of these examples of posters that were donated to us.
Hey Hannah, why aren't you wearing any gloves?
Oh, well, actually, I don't need to be wearing any cotton gloves like you may have seen in many archival videos. Cotton gloves can actually snag on tears and pieces of the poster that are starting to fall apart because these are pieces of history. If I do need to be handling something like photographs or metal, which might degrade due to finger oils, then I'll just throw on a pair of nitrile gloves that are right by the entrance for any of the archivists here to use. But since these are posters, as long as I treat them with respect, it should be good to go. So first of all, I want to show you this really cool Grace Jones disco party poster. She's a Jamaican American singer. And this poster was created to talk about an event she was singing at. If you look down here, you'll see all the locations where the tickets were being sold for a measly $10. I kind of wish concert tickets today were only $10. But you may see some very familiar locations here. Lambda Rising and Lamas were both selling tickets. And this was a event that was shown by the Gay Community Center of DC. And looking at this poster, first of all, is very cool visually, but also seeing where tickets are sold speaks to how certain genre of music may come very open and accessible to a community because tickets are being sold in an area that's frequented by many gay and lesbian customers. So that's one little snapshot of life that we had given to us in this poster collection. Another one is this poster right here by the Gay Activists Alliance, labeled "Someone in Your Life is Gay." And on this poster, you see several Polaroid-esque photos of people just going about and living their daily lives. I think that acceptance and just coming around to the idea that being gay is good and being gay is normal was something that people really struggled with at the time and still struggle with today. And this poster shows people who are just like anyone else and raising awareness that people who are gay in your community might be, more common than you think. Following that up with an example of a series of posters. This one is labeled "What Have You Got Against a Condom?" And this poster and the other ones in its series were created in an effect to spread awareness of safe sex and using condoms during sex to prevent the spread of AIDS, because the AIDS crisis was very much ongoing at the time when these posters were created. There were, I believe, 6 posters in this series that were submitted to our collection, and they were both targeted towards female and male partners for people who had AIDS and keep female and male partners. Just spreading awareness of how having safe sex can prevent the spread of AIDS, especially when this was a huge crisis. Moving on, we have this very heartfelt one that was included, and it is a wedding countdown between Nancy and Lily, a women couple. And it's super sweet. You can see it starts at midnight and goes all the way up to the time of the wedding, counting down the minutes until they get married. This is obviously hand drawn in what looks to be a ballpoint pen, and all the doodles of the heart and the leaves just really show us the love that was put into these posters. And it really provides a human element of showing what love was like back then. It's not much different than what love is like today, than what you would see in both homosexual or bisexual or heterosexual couples. And there is a really strong emotional and human element that I think the archives provides. Sometimes it can get a little lost when you're reading court cases and stuff, but then you come across something like this, and it just really provides a link to where we are today and where we were back then. Another poster that I have is this double-sided one that says "AIDS treatment for all" on one side and "Healthcare cuts kill people with AIDS," followed by the slogan "ACT UP" on both sides. And again, this is showing the prevalence of the AIDS crisis at the time that these posters were created. And it is just very interesting because these are things that you would see on the street. They're things that you would see posted on bulletin boards. And what we see in these posters gives us an idea of what was on the mind of people in the LGBT community at the time. Because whatever we're seeing here shows what people thought was important to reach out to others in their community about. So if you'll notice, each of these posters is separated by this sheet of paper, and it's got the object ID written on it, as well as each poster is labeled with its own object ID, so that when a researcher comes in, or when an archivist comes in to recall an object that a researcher has collected, they'll have the object ID in mind or the collection, and then they'll come over to one of these drawers, which we labeled with a little slip of paper with the collection at top, Rainbow History Project, followed by the accession date and the object number and the category it falls under. So general posters, we have some like Lily posters, oversized posters, Chuck posters, whatever they came in as. And they'll open up this drawer. And when they slide it open, on this oversized folder, just like the other ones, we have the collection, the accession date, and whatever objects are in here. So let's say, for instance, someone is looking for an object that was brought in on the 23rd object, or the 23rd collection that was brought in 2024, the 52nd object, and they open it up, and they might find something like this, which is a poster for the Lamp and Rising bookstore with the slogan, "Books are only the beginning," and showing a couple of things that they have in there, like books, magazines, music, and community, which is another one of those human factor things that are very interesting to see. And all of this labeling and the digital filing was done by myself, Kittery, and Rashaya as part of this internship. We had no prior archival work, so this really was a crash course in that. And it's really cool to have our handwriting in something so important that researchers will ask archivists to come up here and collect for them in the future to work on projects that will impact the community.
So what were your favorite takeaways from this internship opportunity?
It's kind of hard to name because even though we only had 4 weeks here, we got through a lot of material. It was kind of like getting information through a fire hose. But I think for me, knowing what's changed, but also what stayed the same, we've made a lot of leaps and bounds, progress with healthcare and AIDS, as seen in the posters, progress with people being able to feel comfortable being out, same-sex marriage. But there are also a lot of things that we still have to make progress on. And knowing in my future when I'm going to be responsible for other people who may be part of the LGBT community, it's important to keep those things in mind so that I can treat them with respect and ensure that other people treat them with respect as well, and that we foster understanding, not just as a community of LGBT people or a community of heterosexual people, but just a community of humans overall. So I loved this internship and how it taught me the history of people learning to respect each other. What about you, Rashad?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier about how all of the archives and the various posters and magazines that we found really helps to bring the history alive, and I really do mean it. Over the course of the last week, I had the opportunity to read a lot of various articles, and a lot of the information that we found in the article actually found mentioned in a lot of these archives. So again, it takes the facts that were on that page and really brings it to life and makes it more of a connection, helps us build more of a connection with the material that we're looking over. And so with that being said, I never considered archives or history to be a potential career, a career path or really a passion of mine. And so over this last month, I really had the opportunity to explore and learn more about the topic and really consider it as something I'm really interested in. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I've had since being here to really explore myself, learn more about myself. So yeah.
What parts of this internship spoke to you? I share similar sentiments as the both of you, but I think for me, one of the biggest things was the importance of preservation. So through our work in the archives with intaking and processing all the materials and having the privilege to be able to go through all the collections that are here, it really brought an awareness to me on how important it is to be able to highlight potentially marginalized voices or narratives. So being able to share those stories and experiences with a bigger audience who might not have had exposure to these aspects, I think can be part of really important change.
Well, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this VIP in the weeds tour of our collection space. And we have certainly enjoyed it as well, but this wouldn't have been possible without the Rainbow History Project allowing us to come and intern here. Not just Rashaya, Kinnery, and I, but midshipmen every year have received this offer of an internship by the Rainbow History Project. And if it's opened our eyes this much, it's been opening eyes of midshipmen for a while, which not only goes on to benefit us in the Naval Academy or in the Navy or Marine Corps when we graduate, but also when we enter the civilian field and just as people interacting with other people in our day-to-day lives. So thank you so much to the Rainbow History Project, not just for allowing us to intern here, but allowing you guys a little background look at what goes on here in our archival collection space.
Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're downstairs in the library, we'll see you soon.